Can't relate, straight talk going, safe not safe. Before you cross me, look both ways. Leaving the scene with no trace, none in my league. You out of place, I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, state to state.
What's going on, guys? When this drops, it is going to be 4 days out from one of my favorite promotions and their biggest show of 2021, arguably an all hands on deck Canadian extravaganza. We're going to be repping the North like nobody else. Please help me welcome back my first guest of all time, the man who opened up the doors for Straight Talk Wrestling in more ways than I can tell you, and the man I consider a friend, colleague, and a brother. George, the Iceman, back to Straight Talk Wrestling 4 years later. Holy shit, what's up, my dude?
Dude, I can't believe it's been 4 years. That's crazy. First
Right?
of all, congratulations. You've been doing great things with your podcast. I'm keeping my eye on you, and you're getting some great interviews. You're doing great things, gaining lots of traction. So congratulations. You're doing amazing for independent wrestling. And of course, something you love and you're passionate about. And you know what they say, right? The old saying is, if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So as long as you're happy, God bless you.
Absolutely. I am happy, man. And like I said in the intro, there's no way Straight Talk would be where it is if you hadn't opened the doors, if you hadn't given those opportunities to make those connections like Josh Alexander, to meet him, spend time with him. You gave me our first interview with him. He's been on the show 3 times, but the first interview was at a Destiny show, and you gave me like 25 minutes in between doing all the meetings, all the cast calls, everything, trying to get everything ready to go. You were like, you guys got 20 minutes. If I'm in a good mood, I'll give you 22, but I can't give you more than that. So listen, let's talk Zero Fear. Let's talk about this amazing show, this huge all hands on deck Canadian extravaganza you got going on, and the big news you just dropped a few days ago. We are doing an Impact television taping. Cody Deaner versus Chris Sabin, arguably 2 of the greats in Impact history. Sabin, I mean, I could list his resume all day long and that would be the whole episode. The guy has so many notches in his belt. But talk to me about that, man. Talk to me about like setting that up. That's insane.
So this show, Zero Fear, was supposed to be 100% Canadian. 100% Canadian. And that was the concept, was Zero Fear. And I didn't want to, it's not like I wanted to be so patriotic, but I did want to keep it as Canadian can be. And number 2, because of the issues with traveling and the pandemic and so forth, it makes it difficult to bring an international talent. We have contracts, signings, flights, hotels, sometimes deposits sent, and issues occur at the border. So it's never in our control. I promise you that, because we usually get all talent to make a video for whatever reason if they can't cross that border. So we said, what can we do to secure the audience with an amazing show, top to bottom, all Canadian? So we figured the main event, and it just happened to be at a good time with ROH, where PCO reached out to him, had a conversation on the phone. We went back and forth. We came to an agreement, and we set it up. PCO versus Josh Alexander. The main event, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, this match will be unbelievable. Now, I haven't announced this yet, so I'm going to break a little bit of news today, right here, right now. The match will now be officially no DQ, no disqualifications, no rules, anything goes. So you could only imagine that these 2 guys are now not subject to perform and compete just in the ring, but they're allowed to go outside the ring and fight, and we cannot stop them. In fact, possibly, maybe, who knows, they might be able to use what's available to them. Maybe chairs, who knows? It could be anything, and they're allowed to use it. It's no rules, anything goes, no DQ between Josh Alexander, PCO, Zero Fear. It's supposed to be all Canadian. And of course, it's no secret, our relationship with Impact Wrestling. And we've been going back and forth, discussing a few things, and Scott D'Amore, of course, had an idea to create more content for its online visibility as well as television. So he said, I want to do a matchup with you guys and so forth. And I go, well, this is what we got going on. He goes, well, I want 2 Impact stars to compete for this taping. And I said, sure, what do you got in mind? He goes, well, let's do Cody Deaner. And Cody Deaner, he knows he's doing very well. Let's give the man credit. He's transformed his body. He's changed his image, his look, his character. He's adapted to what's going on. So we have to give the man credit. He didn't stick to the same old, because some people, they get complacent and just continue on with the same gimmick. He changed his gimmick. So I got to give the man credit. It's a new Cody Deaner. Unfortunately, this guy is a mean, nasty guy. And he's trying to make a name for himself. And who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to be at the top of the food chain, right? It's more money, it's traveling, it's the world title. So he's looking for that spot. In return, Scott was like, we're going to put him against one of the greatest X Division champions of all time. I'm like, and he said, Sabin, Chris Sabin. And I was like, what? That's mind blowing. Again, it's not fully Canadian. We have one person that's, I think 3 people or so on the card are not Canadian. So it's 97% or something Canadian. And I said, wow, that's crazy. You actually want to do that? He goes, let's do it. Let's give the fans something amazing. And it's going to be some content that we need on camera. So we'll be filming that. And I was like, that's incredible news. I think the audience is going to love it. They can see themselves on camera and see this when it comes out publicly. So let's do it. So anyways, that match was announced just a few days ago. And tickets, I got to tell you, started to sky just blow out. I was getting notifications. So people were really impressed that, Sabin, who hasn't been in Canada in over 4 years, minimum. I think the last time was a BCW taping over 4 years ago. So he hasn't been in Canada in a very long time. One of the greatest X Division champions, head-to-head Cody Deaner, TV taping, also at Zero Fear. I mean, those 2 matches alone, not even talking about what else, those 2 matches alone should put asses in the seat. So I'm very, very excited.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, whenever you announce an event, I always walk by as I say my goodbyes at the end of the night. I'm like, George, it's 3 tickets. You're gonna get the money next day, and we take care. Take care of that right away. And it's building relationships like that count so much. And you're one of the great. What I learned from you was how to build those relationships and keep those relationships. So I'm excited to see PCO. Him and I have been on. He's been on the show before, and I messaged him and I said, hey man, I can't wait to see you in person, because we had a phone interview. So it'll be awesome. He's like, yeah. I'm like, save me one of your action figures. I want to buy one. I want it signed. I want to hang it in the studio with the rest of these goodies. Yes. So I can't wait. I can't wait for that match. But I mean, again, Destiny and Impact, the relationship is no secret. We've seen some big blockbuster moments happen at Destiny shows. I was there the night Josh Alexander got offered his contract. I was there the night Speedball Mike Bailey got offered his contract. I was there through so many amazing moments in time, seeing Marty Scurll, seeing Low Key, and arguably seeing one of the greatest OGs of all time, Pete Dunne. I mean, the relationships you built, Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, the relationships you built have been incredible. The stars you've brought in have been incredible. And that's because you've been in this business, as we learned from our first interview with you 4 years ago. You've been in this business since like the 80s, the 90s, man. I'm not aging you. I'm not aging you, but you have those relationships in place. And I remember my favorite story from our last interview was when you talked about Superfly Snuka.
Oh, yes.
And how, you were like, can we do a Superfly? And he's like, well, there's an extra charge for that. And you were like, all right, well, I'm a little bit budget-wise, I'm a little tight this time around, but maybe next time. And then he went and did it. And you were like, Jimmy, that's awesome, man. But we didn't agree to that. And he's like, that's okay, brother. I did it for the people. And when you hear stories like that, that's gotta be what keeps the fire burning. When these guys come in and they just feel the electricity of the crowd and they go ahead and go above and beyond for us, that means the world. As much as we mean the world to them for being in the seats and cheering them on, what they do for us can never be thanked. We could say it, we can write it in the sky, but it can never actually be we can never show as much appreciation as we want to for what they do for us. But your relationships and how you've built those things, I mean, reputation counts for a lot. And Destiny is one of the best promotions. I'm not even going to say in Canada. I'm not going to be cliche. I'm going to say one of the best indie promotions in the world for the talent you bring in, the stories you tell, and the guys you build up. You talked about Cody Deaner in a transformation. Let's talk about Aiden Prince and the transformation he's been under. Let's dissect that a little bit. I had to go there. I had to. Aiden Prince, from when I saw him 4 years ago, my first Destiny show, he was in that triple threat with Josh and Low Key for the vacant title at the time, because Pete Dunne, he was doing NXT stuff. He couldn't be there to honor the title. So you had to put the strap on somebody else. And I see this kid coming up literally from nowhere, has a killer match, killer fatal 4-way, and then he gets thrown right in the main event. And from where he was then to where he is now, it's incredible.
Well, it's unbelievable. Now, for those who are keeping score, Aiden Prince has not lost a match in 4 years. He's kind of like our little Undertaker. 4 years. He has never been pinned in a ring for Destiny World Wrestling. He has worked his ass off, his butt off, and he is now the next generation champion. And that's key because that's like the stroke of who we think possibly, who's that next guy? Well, the first ever next generation champion won our crown, won our title in New York City. It was a WrestleMania weekend, and that was Trey Miguel. And look what happened with Trey Miguel, currently now the X Division champion. So you look at that, Aiden Prince, is it possible? Maybe we posed the question that Aiden Prince could possibly be moving up. Is it possible? We are considered a developmental, like the OHL for hockey in Canada. And usually those, if you're keeping score, that are getting that push, because there's other people above us that have their eyes on them. So the idea between Destiny that we like to pride ourselves on is we just want to polish you up, mold you up a little bit. You know what I mean? If you're coming at Destiny, we're usually looking at you because, okay, maybe he just needs to cut some promos and he needs to work the cameras a little bit more, work with producers backstage, understand that perspective of indie wrestling. The wrestling's usually pretty much on. Maybe he'll get tweaked from Scott Demore, a producer who's usually backstage as well as Anthony Corelli, former, champion in the WWE, and whoever else that we bring in to be a guest producer backstage. So they get a lot of points on that. The wrestling, I'm never worried too much about usually because they kind of got that, right? And if you're on our platform, you're there pretty much. You kind of reached a certain spot in the industry, and it's little tweaks here and there, because the idea that we like to pride ourselves on, it's not that you come to us and then continue this, is move, get out of here, man. Get signed, get a contract, go live your life, go make money. You know what I mean? Go live your dream and get on that international stage, which is what you deserve. And then we want to be associated with that, because when the time is right and it comes full circle, they're like, yo, I remember that day, guys. And you know what, Destiny, we're coming back. We're gonna give you guys a little something. So anyways, on that note, this guy, I mean, he is such a company guy backstage. I have nothing but positive things to say about this guy. Aiden Prince has been working his ass off. If you watch carefully, his transition, his gear, his style, even wrestling wise, it's changed, of course. Storytelling is important, selling to the camera, unfortunately, and you still have to tell a story, right? I mean, that's what we're doing. As well as even his weight. If you notice, he's been hitting the gym. He's gained more weight now. It's a little bit, bulkier and muscles, and he's looking great. Not that he wasn't before, but again, if you're trying to move up in ranks and get that contract and live that life and move on to the next step, then that's your sacrifice. This is a full-time job you got to do. And for some of those wrestlers, people who don't know, a lot of them don't really do this full-time. Josh Alexander just recently announced, finally, after 20 years or so, he gets to call wrestling his full-time job, his dream. Because a lot of these guys have part-time jobs and they still have to get into the gym. They still got to diet. They still got to eat proper and the best of the best. They got to be on their proteins. They got to get time to work out in the ring when they can, get to their shows. A lot of them don't fly. They have to drive, gas. So they're struggle. And a lot of people don't know that struggle. So when I say, hey, go out and support them by getting some merchandise, that goes a long way, buying a t-shirt, buying a toy, buying a picture. Anything. Imagine if they can make a couple $100, it's worth it for them. That covers their bills to keep it going, to pay for their gym, to pay for their food, to pay for their training, because they don't make a lot on the show. I mean, we're a small promotion, we don't have sponsor money like WWE does, let's just say, in the billions, we're in the hundreds. So it's a big difference. So on that note, again, Aiden Prince is a guy to watch out for. All the guys are guys to watch out for, but Aiden just seems to be that guy who's making a great name for himself. We wish him the best. We hope that good things happen. We hope that in the very near future, he gets a contract and goes out and lives his dream. And those who don't believe, believe it. Like many guys in Destiny receive contracts, tons. I could go down the list. In fact, former legends who have come to our promotion without contract, within weeks of performing in our show, receive contracts. I mean, I could name so many. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, we brought Pete Dunne and we believed in him. And a week before our show, they said, let's give this guy the UK title, longest reigning world champion in the United Kingdom for just about 3 years or so. Guys like that. Mick Foley, who was, out of the scene, really not doing much except his comedy tour, came over, was our guest referee, man. 14 days later, the new GM of Raw had that role for a while, Other guys, we brought Rhino, who filled in as a last-minute booking for Summer Heat. And, Regal signed him right away. Another guy who showed up, last-minute booking, replacing, doing me a solid, was Bobby Roode. What do you think happened 30 days later? Another contract signed. The list goes on. Mike Bailey's been at it for years and years, doing his thing, hustling away, performing, in Japan and so forth. And then the opportunity came, and in our ring, we were blessed that it was chosen to get signed in our ring. Again, we're lucky, we're privileged, we're blessed. The list goes on, of course. We could go on for hours. All I want to say is we try to provide that platform like the OHL is to hockey for wrestling in Canada. If you're on our stage, then it provides certain eyes on the product and on you that you wouldn't get on a particular other indie platform or a reel on a video or social media. So a lot of eyes on the product because we try to pride ourselves on, if you're here, you're almost there. You're ready to go to that next step, a little tweaking and just go do your thing, man. That's all.
Absolutely. And you know what? I wouldn't take anything away. You have a great eye for talent. You have a great eye for building stories, building characters, making us care about someone we necessarily might not be invested in. But the way these guys perform at a Destiny show, it's like they leave it. They always leave it all out there. But at a Destiny show, I feel like they leave it all out there. Then they go to the reserve tank, leave that out there. And then when they're running on fumes, they leave that out there too. Yeah. Storytelling is key, and your eye for talent is key. And I want to talk about an interesting matchup. One matchup that I'm looking forward to the most at Zero Fear is Gabriel Fuerza versus El Reverso. Hair versus mask. Now you're talking about a 15+ year veteran, 16+ year veteran in El Reverso. He's been donning that mask for 16 years. But now at Destiny, he's willing to put it on the line to prove a point to a very smug Gabriel Fuerza. I love Fuerza. I love him. I have that picture of him, breaking Mike Bailey's ankle, blowing a kiss. I think it's the greatest fucking photo in the world. But talk to me about how guys are willing to evolve and change at Destiny's platform. You're not forcing anybody. You didn't go up to Reversal and say, hey, listen, you're going to put your mask on the line. I'm sure that was a mutually concepted idea. But how is it that a lot of guys are willing to do things at Destiny shows that might not be willing to do anywhere else?
Yeah, it's quite.
I'm not asking for your trade secrets. I'm just
listen. I first want to let me put this out there for those who don't know. I don't always talk to all competitors prior to the show or so forth. We're blessed because we have a guy who's now come into the core group, sits at the table with us. I've made him the president of the company, which is Jeff from Shooting the Indies. So Jeff from Shooting the Indies kind of acts as a conduit in communication with some of the boys because I do have a busy schedule and I usually deal with other things. So he'll conduct himself with a conduit and he'll bring up guys in the meeting and say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And we'll take a look and say, well, where do we go from here? How does this guy go to the next level? What can we do to amplify that so that other eyes see and go, whoa. So what have you seen in a particular guy like El Reverso? So there has to be some type of, well, if he's doing the same thing for, let's say, 10 years, what can Destiny do that'll make people go, So we come up with strategies, ideas, we talk amongst each other, and sometimes there has to be change and a metamorphosis of who they are to who they can be and say, hey, are you ready to make that commitment, that sacrifice, and that change. Or you can keep doing what you're doing on regular indies. I mean, you have a choice, but it's important that you put great thought into your character, where you're going and what you're doing. Once you've agreed to, okay, what can we do? What is important? Okay, so we got, let's say, El Reverso. Same conclusion with Gabriel Fuerza. You had your hair, you grew it out. That's your thing now. The wet look, the hair. He's looking great. He's working out. He's got the nice gear. And, you know, he's been winning at Destiny. I mean, he's undefeated right now since we've been back. It's pretty incredible stuff. So how do the fans get involved? How can we make them emotionally connected to these characters? Well, if you're following El Reverso, you know, his mask is his heritage. That's his gimmick. It's always been. The man is also a guy who has a full-time job. You know, he has a job, he works, makes some money. That's kind of how the lucha used to do. They keep it secret, right? Doesn't want everybody to know he's a wrestler, so he has the mask. Gabriel, that's his look now. That's his image. That's his persona. What's his hair? He's grown it out. So why not put it both on the line? Just put it both on the line. What can it hurt? People will be invested now because they're either going to see someone in the ring who's vain and brass like Fuerza, kind of the Conor McGregor of pro wrestling right now. You know what I mean? So do you get your head shaved? Not cut.
Shaved.
Shaved. There's a difference. We're not going to take off 2 or 3 pieces of hair. A machine will come, he'll sit in the ring and he'll get it shaved if he loses. On the other token, El Reverso in the ring must show his face to the audience, take off the mask in front of everybody. In fact, Fuerza gets to keep that mask. So Fuerza, if that's a heritage mask, that belongs to Fuerza as a token of victory. This is what I took from you. A lot on the line. So the match has a lot of meaning. Whichever way it goes, that individual will obviously get a boost in their career because you have bragging rights, and us as the promoter have to say, gotta push him, look what he did. So when they both understand the importance and the value in the mask and the hair, it's not just mask versus hair, it's a lot. Fuerza spent a couple of years to grow that his hair, and this guy spent 10, 15 years with that mask. So it's good, it's on the line, fans get into it, they'll appreciate it, whether they get to see a man's head shaved or whether a man's mask gets taken off. Either way, I promise there is incredible value, and the winner of that match is going to do great things. Now, the one who loses doesn't necessarily mean they go off into the sunset. What it can mean is a readaptation of who they are in character. So you might see change in them as well. Anything can happen. And that's what Destiny does. We don't just book a match. We sit in a room and we try and decide storylines for the next 6 to 8 months. If we're doing this match, how does that affect them in the next show? So it's not just, here's a great match for you, but where do we go down the line? Is there something we could do with this person to have them connected emotionally with the fans so they can partake? Again, if you don't have currently a TV program, you can't follow the storyline, right? You have to see it only when it's live. So it's got to be memorable. On that note, this match will be historic. I promise you, it's going to be incredible. And there's a lot at stake. Hair versus mask, Fuerza versus El Reverso. I would keep my eye on that because it's going to shock people.
I like it. And you know, it's great that you mentioned about going in there and seeing what you can build for the next 6 to 8 months. Because as we've seen the way other promotions do it, sometimes they literally just pick up something, throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And that doesn't keep people coming back. But like I said, I've been firmly invested. You opened the forbidden indie door for me. I had no ideas the indie was a thing. And then all of a sudden, I remember when I told you, you were like, have you ever been to a Destiny show? I was like, no. And you looked at me like, you're like, how did you know about me? I'm like, well, on Facebook. I mean, it's out there. It's all out. Well, okay, we're going to change that. 2 tickets. I'm comping you the first show, 2 tickets. And if you like it, it's like giving a little taste of a drug. If you like it, then you gotta keep coming back. And let's say I've been hooked and I've been all in. My daughter's there. My wife's invested in the product, and our 5-year-old is coming to her first Destiny show on the 19th.
Oh, yes, amazing.
So it's like the whole Straight Talk family will officially be in attendance, 150%, cheering our heads off for the great promotion that you've built. One thing I do want to ask about though, is 2020, when the pandemic was happening, Anthony Corelli made an announcement about how he was going to go to his forever home in Georgian Bay. And the fate of Battle Arts, the fate of the Don Koloff was kind of up in the air. But then two guys came in, the owners of HWE, who I am proudly affiliated with as 1/3 of the commentary team. They came in and they kind of gave Battle Arts that lifeline, and therefore allowing promotions like yourself and working with promotions like Destiny, like Revolution Women's Wrestling, like all the other great promotions that are the Battle Arts program as well, all the other great promotions to flourish within the Don Koloff. But when Anthony made that announcement, I mean, I know you always have things mapped out 2-3 moves ahead. You're like a chess guru. You already know which. When that announcement was made, I'm sure the wheels of the Iceman were turning. What was the alternate venue? If Battle Arts had closed the doors, was there an alternate venue in mind for Destiny if the Don Koloff was no longer a thing?
Yes, we already knew what Anthony was in the works with, so we were already prepared. There's 3 venues. So we have 3 venues. I don't want to go into the exact locations. I will say one was in Mississauga, and we were there before. St. John's was one of the options. A beautiful venue, good for tapings and so forth. So that was an option, and 2 other options that were in the city. It wouldn't be Mississauga, it would be Toronto. So that was the other option. So we had 2 options in the city of Toronto, a few, and then Mississauga would be one. So we were already prepared to make the move. So it was already in the works. This is, this is what it is, and so forth. And they came to the agreement that let's keep the business of professional wrestling going. We want to provide that for the fans and the venue, and business-wise, it's good for them as well. So we had a quick talk, and mostly done through Anthony. And Anthony was like, why don't you guys continue to do it here? I said, well, if that's an option, we have no problem with that. And the 2 guys are great guys. Met them, talked to them, going to learn more about them and what they do. And we're happy with continuing our residency at the Don Koloff Arena at Battle Arts Academy in Mississauga. And, we'll continue that as long as they, are okay with it. And there will be some shows that'll be much bigger than others, and we'll have to leave that building to go to a bigger building, obviously, to accommodate. However, that being said, there has been some type of rentals and changes within the building that now allow us to bring portable bleachers. So that will increase capacity to bring more spectators to bigger shows. So they've given me that option that on certain pay-per-views, when it's busting at the seams, we don't necessarily have to go to a bigger venue. They can provide us with a space that we could bring in bleachers on an other side and build out like a mini arena to offer a few hundred people more. So that's a great option as well. So they've been working with us. They're pretty great. We're happy. And time being, we are still going to be doing our residency at the Don Koloff Arena.
Absolutely. That's fantastic news to hear. And I can't wait. The more eyes that are on this Destiny product, the more fans I could have screaming their heads off with me, I would be jazzed about. It's great to be a podcaster because you can build these relationships and you can see your friends and cheer on your friends, support your friends, support your family like you, Iceman. I'm always glad to support, always glad to cheer on everything that you guys do. But one cool thing that also happened in the pandemic is that you yourself broadened into the podcast YouTube world. You yourself became an on-air personality. Now, you don't have my adorable cheeks, but what you do have is one of the sexiest radio voices in the business. I mean, when Iceman speaks, everybody listens. But talk to me about the Reveal Report. I love it. We talked about that a lot because we have that personal relationship, and it's not showbiz talk. We are friends outside of this world.
Yeah.
We do talk on a regular. Sometimes I've even sent you memes and you've sent me memes back, and sometimes we flip each other the bird. That's life. That's what we do. But the Reveal Report, I talked to you so much about the stuff you did with Lorraine Warren and how fascinated I was with that because I'm a big fan of The Conjuring. Big fan of The Conjuring. But talk to me about the Reveal Report and how that all got started, because that's the fucking coolest thing in the world. And by the way, congratulations, over 30,000 subscribers. I think almost 40 now. I mean,
30,
the work speaks for itself. And I love the laid back Iceman, like right now, but I do love the serious Reveal Report Iceman. Hello, this is Georgie Iceman, and you are on the view. I love the serious Iceman, but talk to me about
Thank
the
you.
reveal report and how that
So-
came to be.
So I'll keep it brief, but it's basically I was a paranormal investigator, and I dabbled in the supernatural, communication with the spiritual realms, ghosts. I was fascinated with this stuff, and you know, there's so many questions about whether there is a supernatural power and paranormal and stuff. And I participated in seances and rituals, and I got into the practice of certain types of magic. So there was a type of dark occultic, and I did it for like 10 years, supernatural part of me that I never shared. And I thought, I came closer to God. That's the truth. And I give glory and grace to God Almighty, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And I wanted to basically do a show on very taboo, fringe subjects, esoteric, and bring to light some of the things that I learned in studying the occult, in the paranormal, in the supernatural. And some topics on some days may not be everyone's cup of tea, and some are for those that are interested. Either way, if you're into the occult, into the fringe, into the supernatural, kind of like an X-Files type of thing, for those that are into, demonology, hauntings, possession, sometimes very dark, I will say, but that was a part of my life that I like to share sometimes, bringing on guests and discussing the world of the supernatural, which is the Reveal Report on YouTube. We're blessed, and I give grace and glory to God Almighty every day, because 30,000 there, 10,000 on Twitter, almost 10,000 on Telegram, and this is less than a year. It's actually, let me rephrase that, next week will be approximately 1 year that I've been doing it. So I'm just I'm just a guy who just talks some stuff, and I've been very lucky. And that's all. It's just a Reveal Report, and we talk about things that are esoteric, supernatural, and fringe. And if that's up your alley, take a look. And if not, that's cool too. Let's enjoy some wrestling.
Absolutely. I love both sides of the thing. I'm very big into horror movies. I've shared those that love of that with my wife, with my daughter as well. My wife's actually kind of a wussy. She can't even watch. We have to watch Scream during Halloween, and those movies,
oh wow,
they suck. I hate them.
Wow.
I absolutely can't stand them. But my daughter's really into like the dark stuff. And actually one day, both of us were off. It was a vacation week. It was like a Wednesday. And she said to me, Dad, I'd like to watch The Conjurings. I'm like, well, that's perfect, because I own all three. So let's do it. It was a whole marathon of The Conjurings. And I told her, I said, one day we're going to get to the Warrens' house, and we're going to walk that room. And I said to her, though, I said, but don't fucking touch a thing. I don't want to come home with some bad shit, but we're going to walk that room, because I would love to I would love to see that. And just the fact that you sat down with her, I'm not even going to lie. I watched that whole episode, that whole conversation. I geeked out. I was like, fucking Iceman, man, he's talking with the Lorraine Warren. That's like the OG.
I trained with her.
I know.
I trained with her. I went out to Connecticut to learn with her. I spent hours on the phone with her. I flew her to Toronto to do a lecture, and spent the weekend picking her brain, going over things, getting footage. It was incredible. Through her, I also met her son-in-law, Tony Sparrow, which I am in contact with. In fact, I think we're trying to do the 1 year anniversary this week on demonic possession, and he will be one of the guests, I believe. He currently is the guy running her museum, her home, which these artifacts that are haunted, that participated in rituals, satanic cult, that have been possessed, horrible things. They take them from people's homes and they bring it to this museum. And The Conjuring, if you guys have seen or heard about it, is a series of stories based on Lorraine Warren's cases. Some of the information in these cases are not accurate because it's done for film. I'll tell you that right now. For instance, a spinoff, The Nun, certain parts in that weren't accurate because I had to study those cases. But I get it. It's for science fiction television to really bring it up. And I'll be honest with you. It's because, and I could be wrong, but I feel the truth is scarier than fiction. Because if you were to know exactly who Maurice was in The Nun and what he went through, you wouldn't be the same again. So the truth is scarier than fiction, and certain things are not put into the films. They couldn't handle it. Did you know that in The Conjuring, and I believe it was part 2, the tape recordings or the voice of the spirit with those little girls of the poltergeist was real recordings?
I did.
Actual real tapings. In fact, people were reported to faint in the theater during this movie. Some people were rushed to the hospital from heart complications. They couldn't believe it. So that's one thing they use, which is very fascinating and strange. But they'll take real sounds of these hauntings, of the voice of these spirits, and they'll put it into the movie. Shocking stuff. But anyways, if you're into that type of thing, Conjuring, man. What's your favorite Conjuring?
My favorite Conjuring, I'm not going to lie, I have a special place for the first one because it's all girls and I'm a girl dad. So the first one really speaks to me in volumes, especially when the dad is there trying to, you know, at the end when they're trying to take the spirit from his wife and he has to hold her down. It's heartbreaking, but at the same time, you're like, fuck, I want these people to be okay. I want these people to make it through. And the fact that there's people like the Warrens around, people like yourself who understand and bring this to teach and exchange knowledge. That's the coolest part of it all, because these people were there to not only save a mother, but save a family. And that's the most important part. But the first one is my favorite. I also dug the third one. I really dug the psychology in the third one. The devil made me do it. I thought was fascinating. And also the casting was spot on. You look at pictures of a young Lorraine Warren, you look at pictures of Verda Fleming. Whew, it's like looking in a mirror. It's scary like that sometimes when they cast somebody so perfect. You're like, holy fuck, like me. If they ever did a biopic on me, Kevin James, I know he could play me perfectly. I know he
Who would it be for you? Who would
Kevin James. Kevin James, he could play me perfectly.
I like it, man. I mean, start writing a documentary or write a novel and put yourself in it, and hopefully that get picked up by Hollywood. I can introduce you to a couple of Hollywood writers I know.
Perfect. Well, I got it. Since we're on the subject, who would play Iceman in the Iceman biopic? Who would be the perfect actor to play the Iceman?
So, do you know the character that played in 007?
Yes.
And he's French, I believe, and I always forget to pronounce his name. Man, it's, you know what? He plays Hannibal in a TV series.
Oh, I know that guy. Yeah, he was the bad guy in Casino Royale. I know the actor you're talking about, the guy with the blood. He would cry blood. Yes. Yeah. You're right, George. Holy shit. You know what, George?
That would be.
You got an eye for talent and you got an eye for lookers, man. I tell you, bud. I really do tell you.
Yeah, that guy right there he's got a mystery and darkness to him. And he would be the perfect guy to play my character if that ever happens. So yeah, that would be my pick.
I completely agree with it. I actually love the pick. One thing I do want to talk to you, because again, you're such an OG in the business of wrestling and how you bring it to Canada and how you tell the stories, how you big up Canada, how we build up talent here. Visa issues for Canadian wrestlers, that is the hardest thing. And I mean, we know the reasons why. There's that whole, the US has that stigma, that statistic, that kind of legislation that says, you know, you're coming in to take our jobs, which is actually not the case. We're going over there for more exposure. But why do you think the visa issues cause such a hang up for some of the most amazing? Ontario alone has some of the best wrestlers I've ever seen, better than what's on TV in a lot of places. And I'll fight for that for the end, because I big up the Ontario scene a lot. But why do you think the visa issues, why do you think there's so many issues with the visas? Why can't Canadian talent get exposed?
You know, population is one. So because there's more population in the US, there's more indies in the US, more indies, more people, more fans, more money. So the Canadians want to get there because it's a bigger platform. And I feel that the Canadian culture, and not to put down, but I think we're a little bit more reserved in many aspects, as opposed to the American culture. It's, you know, there's so many different styles. People just, let's go and have some fun and watch some wrestling. Here, people got that stigma, WWE. You know, it's like no option. It was like breaking bricks to convince somebody to come to an indie show, because they're like, well, you're not WWE. Why would I go to your show? I'm like, listen, independent wrestling is the future of the WWE. See them before they're stars. And they're already stars. They're just going to get fireworks hooked onto their back, and they're going to shoot like stars when they get there. So come and support and watch it. As opposed to the US, it's different. There's more opportunity. There's more chance. They'll believe in you. They'll give you that chance to be a star. You can make a living on the indies just in the US alone. We've seen that with many people. And so the US is very tight knit when it comes to that. Again, bigger population, more people. They don't want you going in, taking their job. So you got to work 10 times harder, which is actually a benefit to us. Why? Because it breaks apart talent and no talent. Are you there for today or are you there for the long haul? So those that usually make it in the wrestling industry or any other industry in the US is because they're completely passionate, dedicated, committed, and they're going to work 10 times harder than everybody else, whether it's Europe, America, Asia, it don't matter where. The Canadian is going to work harder to get that visa, to get over the border and prove himself. Look, top dog in Impact Wrestling, Josh Alexander. Some of the top dogs in AEW, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. WWE, fascinating. You know, you got Kevin Steen. I shouldn't say that. That's not what people know him as. But I can't wait for him to be Kevin Steen again. But Kevin Owens. I just dropped an Easter egg, and you'll get it very soon. But yeah,
I have the biggest childlike grin in my world. Okay, that dude is my idol. All I'm gonna say is, I got that Easter egg fully, and I'm already all in more than I'm already all in. Let's just leave it at
good. Good. So Kevin is one of the greatest talents out there in WWE. You know, don't take for granted Natalia. You know, her bloodline and her ancestry in professional wrestling is next to none. In fact, she's too good. She's actually too good. And, you know, I've the stories that come back to from a lot of guys is something they got to tell her, tone it down. You're too good. That's the basis of it. You're just too good. So there's a lot of superstars, but they're standouts. They're standouts. Ethan Page and AEW also doing great things. God bless them. Congratulations. There's so many unbelievable talent that are there. So, yeah, you got to work 10 times harder than everybody else, and don't let it knock you down. If it does, then maybe it's not for you. But if you have faith in yourself and you bet on yourself and you're passionate about what you do, then work 10 times harder than everybody else to earn that visa, get over there. It'll be well worth it.
Absolutely. And that's motivation. I mean, look at that. Podcaster, promoter, all around good guy, motivator. There's like, you should get a t-shirt made. That's what it should say. I'm going to work on that. When it's your birthday, I may surprise you with that shirt.
Very good. But, I'll wear it. Yes.
Yeah. From top to bottom, it'll be overall good guy made up of promoter, podcaster, motivation. That's me in a nutshell right there.
Love it.
I love it. A couple more questions and I'm going to let you go enjoy your Sunday evening. But in terms of some of the amazing talent you're bringing over from Quebec, and this is what the great exciting thing is, because there's so much talent in Canada that here at Destiny, we haven't had a chance to see yet. You're bringing over PCO, but you're also bringing over a man that intrigues me a lot, Matt Angel. I cannot wait to see what this guy does in the ring. The minute you announced him, I looked him up right away, and I was fascinated to see some of the matches that he's had, some of the talent that he brings to the table. And this guy has so many layers to him. It's fascinating. Yes. It's fascinating. So when you're bringing over a guy like Matt Angel and you look at the roster that you've built, how do you decide who brings or who is the Destiny resident, the guy who's part of the roster that's going to take on this newcomer to the Destiny roster?
Yeah.
How do you welcome Matt Angel with a swift punch in the face like he's never seen before?
So Matt Angel may not be known so much in Ontario, but I can assure you he's a superstar in Quebec, Montreal. He's a hard worker. He's worked some of the best in the world when they're brought to Montreal. So he's not a newcomer in professional wrestling. It's not like he can't handle the pressure of Aiden Prince. It's not like he can't deal with the audience. He's been in the lights. The lights have been upon him. He's been in tapings. He's worked Pete Dunne. He's worked many big names. So it's not like I'm throwing him to the wolves, because I'm not. The guy is a star and he's a world champion who currently holds many titles. So he's not new. His job is to come in and not just win, but take away Aiden Prince's title. Now, I gave him that opportunity because he is a world champion currently with several titles, because he has worked the best in the world, and because he's not going to buckle under the pressure of the lights and everything else. This is what he strives for. This is what he wants. This is what he needs. So I'm not going to bring him in and put him against a regular guy. It's an easy win. That's like feeding him. So let's throw him in. It won't be new to him to take on somebody like Aiden Prince. But it'll be incredible for the fans to see two guys at the very best and top of their career, because he is at the top right now, and so is Aiden Prince. And Aiden needs to be challenged every single time, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's three-on-one. That's his job, to get better and better and better. And this is a great challenge for him, sink or swim. Anything can happen, and usually does at Destiny Wrestling. So yeah, let's throw him in, one of the best in the world. I truly feel he's an incredible X Division type of guy, and Matt Angel has a lot of opportunities. So let's see what happens. This match will be amazing. I promise you, it will be amazing.
Well, every match on the card will be amazing, because every match at a Destiny show is always amazing. And you can remember every single match. I can give you a moment in time from every match that I watched that was spectacular. I could tell you about Daniel Garcia. I could tell you about Kevin Blackwood. I could tell you about seeing Channing Decker getting his balls smashed by a cinder block from Graver. I can tell you about Johnny Nitro or John Morrison, or whatever you want like to call him now. I can tell you about how much he's a fan of Timmy Hose and how much he loves his Timbits. I could tell you that Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne are some of the most sincere and amazing individuals. I could tell you that Trent Seven is one of the nicest guys, and he is also huge. TV does not do justice for how tall that guy is, but TV also doesn't do justice for how hard those guys hit. I've seen Tyler Bate go at Aiden Prince and have welts on both their backs, because every time that they're in the ring with somebody like that, I see elevation. I've seen Josh Alexander go at Loki and put Loki down. I've seen Josh Alexander go at Marty Scurll twice and put him down. He may have lost once, but he gained it right back the next time they fought. So I get it. And I'm not going to lie. When that happened, I was very upset. I told you at the show, I said,
now,
George,
mind you,
I didn't like to
he
swerve.
lost, but he wasn't pinned.
No, he wasn't pinned, but he lost. But I told you when that happened, I said, George, I didn't like to swerve. And you were like, well, I got to keep you guessing. I was like, I get it, bro. I'm like, but what did I say to you that day? I said, George, you broke my heart. I walked out there. I was very upset.
I know.
But
it's good for business.
It absolutely is. You know what? And that's the key phrase. It is good for business. It's entertainment first, but it's business second. And those two things, entertainment, business, it clashes. Yeah. That's the way it works. My final question for you, like I said, your eye for talent is better than no one else that I've seen. And I'm honored to call you a friend and a brother. And thank you so much for giving me the time, as you always do. Let's make sure we don't do this every 4 years, though. Okay, let's make it a yearly thing at least. Okay. We have to. Looking at all the great Canadian talent that we have around here, the roster that you've jam-packed with some of the best talent in the world. Again, we've seen the best ladies in Ontario. We've seen the best men in Ontario. If you could pick one standout male performer and one standout female performer, that's what Straight Talk is, George. I always ask the tough questions. If you could pick one in each side of the coin that's going to have a banger 2022, who would you put your money on? Or who would you say to keep an eye on? Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, but who could we keep our eyes on? Can we go with that maybe?
Putting me on the spot.
That's what I do, baby. I'm sorry.
Banger year for 2022 for the guys, two guys to keep your eyes open on. Aiden Prince, I have to say again, and Gabriel Fuerza for 2022. Keep your eye on for those two guys right now, not just Destiny-wise, but overall. There could be some big things in the works. Not take away from anybody else. I could tell you there's big things planned for all the guys, to be honest, but two guys that are going to have that extra, I feel, and it's up to them whether it happens or not. I mean, those two guys specifically. For girls, I believe, again, I'll go with two girls in Ontario. Jody Threat is having incredible success across the border. She's been seen all over in the US, so God bless her. Good for her. And also, I'm going to say, there was another, it's between these two girls specifically. And they're both tied right now because they're on the cusp of doing some great things. So I'm going to go with Alexia Nicole. There's another girl as well. And she was just in Impact Wrestling, and there's been a contract offer to her and so forth. But I'm going to say Alexia Nicole has the opportunity with Jody Threat to have incredible 2022. and amazing careers. Put the effort you can into it, because great things are going to happen.
Well, there you go. And those were the 4 names that I was going to go with. So maybe I got a good eye for talent too. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I do. But George the Iceman, I'm honored to call you a friend. I'm honored to call you a colleague. I'm honored to call you somebody that I respect so much in this world and in this business and in life. Inside and outside of the ring, you're one of the most entertaining and fun people, and you bust your ass, and it shows, like you said. And you keep me motivated. Hearing those words from you at the beginning of the show about all the work I'm putting in, I appreciate that more than you could ever know. More than you can ever know. So before we go, I mean, zero fear. It's going to be stacked. It's going to end 2021 with a banger. And I know you're going to have special cookings happening in 2022. Again, there were a lot of Easter eggs dropped during this interview. If you paid attention, you heard some names. If you didn't, go back and watch it again. If you didn't, you can DM me, and I'm still going to tell you to go back and watch it again, because I'm not going to give away these. I already caught him. He saw my face. I grinned like a kid at Christmas that got his favorite toy. So it's up to you guys to figure out the Easter eggs. But George, before you go, please shout out all your socials, yours, Destiny's, and the Reveal Report. Let everybody know where they can keep up with you and that sexy radio voice. Also, don't forget, during the Reveal Report, he's very serious. He doesn't smile. He's not laid back like he is now. It's very hello, the Reveal Report. I hope I'm doing it justice. I hope I am.
You're doing good. You're doing great. It's different. Reveal Board is a different presentation. But if you're into that esoteric, supernatural, occult, the Reveal Report on YouTube, check it out. And if you're a big wrestling fan and you want to support independent wrestling, Canadian superstars, and maybe see a couple of those people you've seen on TV come and compete. If you've never experienced it, now is the time. Come out. Still a few tickets available, and it's all going down Sunday, December 19th, 7 p.m. Bell time, couple hours long. And there's, in the front, we have a concession stand. So if you're hungry, there's pizza, there's popcorn, there's snacks, there's juice, there's chocolate, you got stuff there. There's a Timmy Hortons right across. So if you want to get the coffee and come in, do that as well. I prefer my Starbucks, but get yourself some tickets. They're on sale. Go to Destiny, worldwrestling.ca and get those tickets. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all under Destiny World Wrestling. Thank you all so much. I appreciate the interview again, George. Incredible. And we can't wait to see you ringside, everybody else as well. And just want to give glory, grace, and thanks to God Almighty.
Absolutely. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. All that good stuff. George, like I said, you're a class act, a great individual. When I see you on the 19th, I'm going to give you a big old hug, probably lift you up. I don't want to mess up your hair or your jacket. I know you work very hard at the presentation, so I won't do it. But I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to cheer my head off. I can't wait to go into work the next day and talk like this because I've lost my voice. As I always do at every Destiny show. As always, guys, you know me. I'm your host, your boy, George Mackay. You know my socials, Straight Talk Wrestling, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're watching, click that subscribe button. It helps a brother out. And also on Twitter @_Straight Talk. Peace, love, and wrestling, guys. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And don't forget, zero fear. Few tickets left. And when he says a few, he literally probably means under 10 or 20. So get them while you can, because if you don't, you're going to be 0 out of luck. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode on all available podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. Also, check us out on YouTube at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And if you feel the need to buy some sweet merch, check us out on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Leaving the scene with no trace, not in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top. I'm outer space. Can't eat with us. We're out of place. I'm doing fine. I'm feeling great. You're not my fan. You can't relate. Straight talk going. Stay